Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to talk about two of the most powerful and, well, contradictory forces inside every single one of us. One has the power to tear us apart, and the other can bring us all together. Yeah, we're talking about revenge and forgiveness. You've heard this a million times, right? It's basically a core idea in our culture, from epic poems to the latest action movies. The whole promise is that getting even, oh, it feels good. It gives you this deep, satisfying pleasure. But is that actually true? Does that sweetness really last? And what happens when we choose the complete opposite path? That's the real tension we're digging into today. That primal, gut-level urge for payback versus our incredible and sometimes really difficult capacity to forgive. To really get a handle on just how deep these two instincts run, let's start with a story. And this is a story that pushes both of them to their absolute breaking limits. Okay, so the details here are they're horrifying. After a night of partying, Shantae Mallard hit a man named Gregory Biggs. He was a 37-year-old homeless man. But instead of getting help, she did something almost unbelievable. She drove home, with him stuck in her windshield, and just left him in her garage. He bled to death over hours while she apparently just kept apologizing to him. It is an act that seems to scream out for vengeance. And then you get this. The astonishing counterpoint. In the face of that unimaginable cruelty, the victim's own son chose something else entirely. Not revenge, but forgiveness. So how? How can both of these things, this profound inhumanity and this profound grace, exist inside of us? Well, the answer starts way back, deep in our evolutionary past. It's really tempting to think of revenge as just a character flaw, right? A breakdown of civilized behavior. But the science, it tells a totally different story. That desire for revenge isn't a bug in our system, it's a feature. It's an adaptation that actually helped our ancestors survive. This is not some modern thing or quirk from one or two cultures. Researchers Daly and Wilson looked at societies all over the world, and in 95% of them, they found the impulse for payback. It's a fundamental part of our social fabric. It's just deeply human. So from an evolutionary point of view, revenge wasn't just some emotional tantrum. It evolved to solve some really critical problems. First up, deterrence. If you get a reputation for hitting back hard, you suddenly become a much less appealing target, right? Second, punishment. It's a very direct lesson to an aggressor that, hey, your actions have a price. And third, it helped enforce cooperation by making sure that anyone who just took from the group without giving back, well, they had to face the consequences. Okay, so if revenge is so natural and it was so important for our survival, why doesn't it always feel as good as we think it will? This is where it gets really interesting, because there's a huge gap between thinking about revenge and actually doing it. There was this famous Swiss study where they scanned people's brains while they were planning revenge on someone who cheated them in a game. And what they found was a rush of activity in the caudate nucleus. That's the same part of the brain that lights up for things like, well, cocaine and nicotine. So this is basically the proof that the idea of revenge, the anticipation, oh yeah, it really is sweet. And here's the paradox, isn't it? The planning feels amazing, but the actual aftermath, it often falls flat. Sometimes it even makes us feel actively worse. So what is going on here? So a researcher named Kevin Carl-Smith set up this experiment where some people could punish a free rider in a group game, but others couldn't. And the results were pretty surprising. The ones who got to punish the other person, they actually reported feeling worse afterwards. And the reason seems to be something called rumination. They just kept replaying the whole event over and over in their heads, which meant they could never really move on. And this all leads to a really crucial insight. For revenge to actually feel satisfying, it looks like we need more than just payback. Researcher Mario Gallwitzer tested two ideas. Is it enough just to see the other person suffer? Or do we need them to understand why they're suffering? And his studies found that satisfaction only really happened when the avenger got a message showing that the offender understood their punishment was a direct result of their own bad behavior. Revenge, it turns out, is really all about delivering a message. So if retaliation is one major tool for keeping social order, let's flip the coin and look at its powerful counterpart, cooperation. This is the instinct that really forms the foundation for forgiveness. See, forgiveness isn't some thin layer of politeness we've added on top of our brutish nature. No way. It's just as fundamental as revenge. Our ancestors lived in these small, tightly knit groups where everyone depended on each other. A damaged relationship could be a total disaster. So an instinct to repair those valuable connections, to forgive, was absolutely essential for survival. And the engine that drives all this cooperation is something called reciprocity. At its heart, it's pretty simple. It's a calculation about the future. I'll help you now because there's a pretty good chance we're going to see each other again, and then you'll be able to help me. It's the classic, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. And this whole system works in two main ways. You've got direct reciprocity, which is simple. You and I, we have a history of helping each other. But then there's indirect reciprocity, and this is way more complex and powerful. It's all based on reputation. I might help a complete stranger if I know they have a good reputation for being a helpful person. And this creates a huge society-wide incentive for everyone to cooperate. Which leads us to this really fascinating idea: competitive altruism. This is basically where being generous becomes a form of social competition. We actually compete to be seen as the most helpful, the most generous person, because a great reputation brings real rewards: higher status, more trust, and hey, even better chances at finding a partner. Being nice literally becomes a winning strategy. So, what do we have? We have these two deep-seated, often conflicting instincts, one for retaliation, one for reconciliation. What does all of this mean for us, today, living in the world we do? This, right here, is the key insight. You can't just rewire the human brain to get rid of the urge for revenge or to remove the capacity for forgiveness. They're both part of our basic toolkit. So the goal then is to build social conditions, environments that make forgiveness the more logical and the more rewarding choice. When you put these two instincts side by side, the contrast is pretty stark, isn't it? Revenge evolved to deter and punish, but it often just leaves us feeling worse, stuck in the past. And it thrives in places with weak justice systems. Forgiveness, on the other hand, evolved to repair relationships, it leads to better psychological health, and it thrives where cooperation and trust are strong. And that leaves us with this final question. We are all descendants of survivors who used both of these strategies. We carry the code for both bitter revenge and for incredible grace. So knowing this, the real challenge isn't to pick one over the other, but to figure out how to build a world where our incredible instinct for cooperation and forgiveness has the best possible chance to win out. Thanks for watching my video. If you like the video and learned something from it and want to share your opinion or your experience, you can comment down below, and I would love to see your thoughts and experiences. Subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell to get notified when I upload more videos like that. Have a good day. Bye.